धीर वीर जन प्रिय प्रिय करो पूजित श्री चैतन्य कृपा भरऊ भुवि भुव भारा वहन तारक वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुगो श्री जीव गोपाल वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुगो श्री जीव गोपाल कृष्ण कीर्तन गान कीर्तन गान नर्तन परम प्रेम वीर वीर जन प्रिय प्रिय करो पूजितम चैतन्य कृपा भरऊ श्री चैतन्य कृपा भरऊ भुवि भुव मारव अंतरक वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुगौ श्री जीव गोपाल विचारणैक निपुणा सद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरण करो विचारणैक निपुणा सद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणां त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरण Dharma Samstapaka Lokanang Hitokarinang Tribhuvane Mannang Saranla Sri Chaitanya Kripabarau Lokanang Hitakarinang Tribhumane Mannang Sarana Karam Vicharanaikanipnang Gadadhara Samstapaka Lokanang Hitakarinang Tribhuvane Mannang Saranakaram Radha Krishna Radha Krishna Padarabindau Bhajanamritau Radha Krishna Padarabindau Bhajana Nandena Mattalika Vande Rupa Sanatanam Raghujugal Siji
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Once again, we welcome you all back to the second session of our two-part series on Vaishnava sages and saints. Very, very grateful that all of you are here, all of you are back for this wonderful Vaishnava Katha by His Grace Adi Gadadhara Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji is also here. Dhanvat Pranam, Prabhuji. Very, very happy and grateful. So yesterday we had wonderful nectarian katha on Srila Ramachandra Kaviraj and Gopal Goswami. So without wasting any time, I would like to request Prabhuji to please take over and drench us in this nectarian Vaishnava katha from here. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, dear Devyanam Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving me this opportunity. Is my sound audible?
Yes, very, very clear, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So we'll get started. Let us seek the blessings of our Guru Parampara by chanting the Mangalacharan prayers first. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Twise Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Dear devotees of ISKCON Richmond, my humble obeisances to all of you. Again, I am very grateful to my dear friend, His Grace Divyanam Prabhu, for giving me this opportunity to glorify our Vaishnava Acharyas on this very special Tithi. Today is the disappearance day of Sri Jaidev Goswami. Again, a very great Acharya in our Parampara, connected to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even though Sri Jaidev Goswami preceded Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in appearing in this world, but still Sri Jaidev Goswami is very intimately connected to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how that is so, we will see towards the end of today's discussion. But let us continue from where we left off yesterday. We were talking about Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. We discussed how Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami appeared in South India, in the holy place of Sri Rangam, which is the place of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ranganath, on the banks of the holy river Kaveri. When he was only 10 years old, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited and stayed in his house for 4 months. Later on, when his parents, Venkat Bhatta and his mother, left this world, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, following the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to Sri Vrindavan Dham. And there he accepted Sri Rup and Sri Sanatan Goswamis as his Shiksha Gurus. His Diksha Guru was his own uncle, Shripad Prabodhananda Saraswati. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami began to serve under the guidance of Shri Rupa Goswami and Shri Sanatan Goswami. He would assist Shri Rupa Goswami in the service of Shri Govinda Dev, and he would assist Shri Sanatan Goswami in the service of Shri Madan Mohan. He would also assist Shri Rupa and Shri Sanatan Goswamis in their writings as they compiled their literature, getting references, editing their work, proofreading. He would help them. He would help them get paper to write their books on. Paper was made of leaves. You had to take leaves and prepare them, make them flat, and prepare them for writing. Gopal Bhatta Goswami would get minerals from the earth and make ink for Rupa and Sanatan Goswami to write their books. Very humbly, he served them. Time went on, and his attachment to deity worship kept on increasing. Because you see, Gopal Bhatta Goswami comes from the town of Sri Rangam, where the heart throb of that whole place is Lord Ranganath. Lord Ranganath is very special. He was personally worshipped by Lord Brahma. He was personally worshipped by Maharaj Ikshwaku. He was personally worshipped by all the great rulers of the Raghu dynasty in the Surya Vamsha. Even Dashrath Maharaj worshipped Lord Ranganath. And finally, Lord Ranganath was given by Lord Ramachandra to his dear devotee Vibhishan, who could not live in separation from Lord Ram. So to mitigate his feelings of separation, Lord Ram gave Sri Ranganath to Vibhishan. And as he was taking Lord Ranganath to Lanka, Ranganathji, he decided to stay at Sri Rangam. So deity worship was very much in the nature of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He was in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya originally. And from his childhood, he was involved in the worship of Lord Ranganath. And now he is in Vrindavan assisting Rupa and Sanatan Goswami in the service of Shri Govinda Dev and Shri Madan Mohan. Who would not want to engage in deity worship? It is so beautiful, such a blissful process to serve the deities intimately. He had this desire, but he did not tell anyone. But Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is Antaryami. He knows the desires of all the devotees. And Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes great pleasure in fulfilling the desires of all the devotees. So we should be very careful what we desire. And this is true in the life of Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami as well as in the life of Shri Jayadev Goswami. And we are going to speak about both of them. I repeat, Krishna takes great pleasure in fulfilling the desires of his sincere devotees. Srila Prabhupada simply points his cane in South Mumbai and says we should have a temple here, as he was coming out of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. And now we have Shri Radha Gopinath Mandir there. So this is the desire of a devotee. Actually, Srila Prabhupada writes, let me see if I can show you a purport. I just remembered. There Srila Prabhupada says, giving his own example. Prabhupada is so wonderfully humble, yet very honest. He's giving his own example and showing how it is so important to understand that Krishna takes great pleasure in fulfilling what? The desires of his pure devotees. Now, this purport that we are going to read, this verse and the purport that we are going to read, my dear friends, this is spontaneous. I was not prepared for this. But this is perhaps one of the sweetest purports that Srila Prabhupada has written. In fact, my Guru Maharaj, who is actually speaking now as what to do, but we have to do our service also. So in 2019 Kartik Yatra, my beloved Guru Maharaj, Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he gave a whole lecture on this purport and the background behind this purport. But we don't have time to get into that. But suffice it to say that Srila Prabhupada in 1977, in November, he's lying on his bed in Krishna Balram Mandir, last few days of his Leela on this planet. And this was one of the last purports that Srila Prabhupada dictated, with His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj holding the dictaphone, Srila Prabhupada lying down, Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj massaging the head of Srila Prabhupada, devotees all around him massaging his lotus feet, some fanning him, and everyone listening with rapt attention as Srila Prabhupada on his so-called deathbed dictating the Bhaktivedanta purports. And this was one of the last purports that Srila Prabhupada dictated. So please read, let's read it very carefully. So today I'm going to do what I have never done before. Today, I was not going to show any verse from any Shastra. Today I was going to show a letter of Srila Prabhupada. But I will show that also. But before that, let's read this verse. So dear friends, this is Srimad Bhagavatam. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 10th canto. And this is the last chapter that Srila Prabhupada translated. Lord Brahma steals the calves and friends of Krishna. And this is verse number 50. So it has been described what Brahmaji is seeing, how Krishna has manifested himself, expanded himself into thousands and thousands of Vishnu Murtis as Brahmaji has come and he's bewildered. All the cowherd boys who were stolen are still there. And then those boys transform into Vishnu Murtis. And now Brahmaji is taking darshan of so many Vishnu Murtis. Brahmaji thought there is only one Vishnu. And from Krishna, so many Vishnu Murtis have come. So Brahmaji is beholding that beautiful scene, and it has been described by Shukdev Goswami. Chandrika Vishada Smeraihi Sarunapanga Vikshitaihi Swakarthanam Iva Rajaha Satvabhyam Shrashtir Palakaha. Chandrika Vishada Smeraihi. By pure smiling, like how? Like the full increasing moonlight. Sa Aruna, this is the description of the Vishnu Murtis. Sa Aruna Apanga Vikshitaihi. By their clear glances of their Aruna Nayan, their reddish eyes. Aruna means like the rising sun. How the rising sun is reddish, orange, like that, the eyes of Krishna. Swaka Arthanam, of the desires of his own devotees. Devotees are called Swaka, Krishna's own people. And their desires, Eva, just as Rajaha Sattvabhyam, by the modes of passion and goodness, Shrashtir Palakaha. Palaka means maintenance through Sattva Gun, and Shrashti means creation through Rajagun. Okay? So now let's see the translation. Those Vishnu forms, by their pure smiling, which resembled the increasing light of the moon, and by the sidelong glances of their reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. Because passion is required to create and goodness is required to maintain. So here Brahmaji is seeing that simply by the sidelong glances, the Supreme Lord creates and maintains the desires of his pure devotees. Isn't that beautiful? Krishna creates and maintains the desires of the pure devotees. So Srila Prabhupada says, let there be a temple. And now see, let's read what happened. Srila Prabhupada is writing the purport. Those Vishnu forms blessed the devotees with their clear glances and smiles, which resembled the increasingly full light of the moon. Shreyah Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam. As maintainers, the Vishnu Murtis glanced upon their devotees, embracing them and protecting them by their smiling. Their smiles resembled the mode of goodness, protecting all the desires of the devotees. And their glancing with their reddish beautiful eyes resembled the mode of passion. Actually, in this verse, the word Raja means not passion but affection. Look at Srila Prabhupada's poetry. He's saying that here Rajogun doesn't mean passion but means affection. Not passion, but affection. Krishna's affection for his devotees. In the material world, Rajogun is passion, but in the spiritual world, it is affection. Aha. In the material world, affection is contaminated by Rajogun and Tamogun. Like Srila Guru Maharaj is talking about Bharat Maharaj's compassion on the deer. In the material world, affection is contaminated by Rajogun and Tamogun. But in the Shuddha Sattva, in the spiritual world, in the Shuddha Sattva, the affection that maintains the devotees is transcendental. The word Swakarthanam refers to great desires. As mentioned in this verse, the glance of Lord Vishnu creates the desires of the devotees. My dear friends, this is the essence. It is Krishna who creates desires in the hearts of the pure devotees. Not that the pure devotee has some independent desire. Krishna is creating those desires. Krishna is inspiring Srila Prabhupada to preach. A pure devotee, however, has no desires. Therefore, Srila Sanatana Goswami comments that because the desires of devotees whose attention is fixed on Krishna have already been fulfilled, the Lord's sidelong glances create variegated desires in relation to Krishna and devotional service. So devotees are fully satisfied, they have no desire. But still Krishna, through his glances, he creates Krishna conscious desires in the hearts of the devotees in relation to Krishna and in relationship to devotional service to Krishna. We'll continue the purport. In the material world, desire is a product of Rajogun and Tamogun. But desire in the spiritual world gives rise to a variety of everlasting transcendental service. Thus the word Swakarthanam refers to eagerness to serve Krishna. Now this is the last paragraph, my dear friends, and this is out of this world. This paragraph is so sweet. Srila Prabhupada is writing. Please pay attention. You will cry when you read this. In Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple. There was no temple in Raman Reti, my dear friends. In Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple. But a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. A very old man who had given up everything and taken sannyas desired, let there be a temple in Vrindavan, let there be devotional service. When my Western disciples come, they should have a place of seva. They should not feel out of place in Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple, but a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. End of purport. Such are the desires of a devotee. So, here Srila Prabhupada is saying that the desires of a devotee are created by Krishna, they are maintained by Krishna, they are fulfilled by Krishna. A pure devotee does not have any desire of his own. Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami, while living in Vrindavan, had a desire to serve Krishna in a deity form. One night, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in the dream of Gopal Bhatta Goswami and said, you go to Kali Gandaki river in the Himalayas and there you will find Lord Hari. That was all. That was the dream. Now here is Gopal Bhatta Goswami, a young brahmachari. He's serving under Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis. In those days, there were no cars. There were no roads. It was a jungle in the Himalayas, and there are leopards and tigers and bear. And here is one little brahmachari who has nothing, no possessions, no servants, no followers. And Mahaprabhu says, go to Gandaki river in the Himalayas, and there you will find Lord Hari. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami, with the permission of the Goswamis, he embarks on this journey. What an adventure. All alone, he has to go through forests, climb over mountains, cross across rivers. Same place where Bharat Maharaj was living. on the banks of Gandaki in the Himalayas. Our Gopal Bhatta Goswami also goes there. See how everything is related. Gopal Bhatta Goswami goes there. It takes many days. It's a long trek. And you have to go all the way up in the Himalayas, and you have to go to a place called Muktinath. Now, even today, first you go to Nepal, you have to go to Pokhara, then you have to go to an airport place called Johnson, and from there you have to take a flight to Muktinath. A very small flight, and many times it crashes also. It's up in the mountains. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami is from sea level. He's from Sri Rangam. He's from sea level. And now he has to go all the way up in the Himalayan mountains. And he goes to Gandaki River at Muktinath. And in the cold, freezing water, he's taking his dips. And as he's taking his dips, in his Kamandalu, naturally 12 Shaligram Shilas come. Mahaprabhu's prophecy came true. He found Lord Hari. Because Shaligram Shila is non-different from Krishna. It is mentioned in Padma Puran, Shaligrama Shilayantu Sakshad Shri Krishna Sevanam. Shaligram Shila is Sakshat Shri Krishna. Service to Shaligram Shila is Sakshat service of Krishna. There is no need of Prana Pratisthapana. Krishna has appeared as Shaligram Shila. And this Gandaki river, please pay attention, this Muktinath and Gandaki river in Nepal, up in the Himalayas, is non-different from Vrindavan. It is Gupta Vrindavan. Why would Mahaprabhu send Gopal Bhatta Goswami outside Vrindavan? Never. So when Mahaprabhu said go to Kali Gandaki, it is because Kali Gandaki and Muktinath, they are Gupta Vrindavan. They are non-different from Vrindavan. Because Shaligram Shila is Krishna in Parakiya Bhav. We don't have time to discuss that story of Srimati Radharani and Shridam that happened in Vrindavan and how Shaligram Shilas manifested. It's a long, very beautiful story. But it is a fact that Shaligram Shila is Krishna. Although many people believe that Shaligram Shila is Vishnu or Lord Narayan, but that is not so. Shaligram Shila is Vrajendra Nandan Krishna, our Vrindavan Krishna, in separation from Radharani. He is in Parakiya Bhav, not Swakiya Bhav. Vishnu is always in Swakiya Bhav, correct? But Parakiya Bhav. So Shaligram Shilas came, and some devotees say that Gopal Bhatta Goswami did not feel himself qualified. So he placed the Shaligram Shilas back in the river, but they again came in his Kamandalu. Finally, Gopal Bhatta Goswami understood that this is the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that I must worship these 12 Shaligram Shilas. And he took them in his Kamandalu and started walking back to Vrindavan. He came down to Haridwar. And near Haridwar, there was a small village. Gopal Bhatta Goswami would walk through forests. And if he happened to be near a village in the evening, he would stay in that village for that night. And generally, because in the forest, there were no motels, there were no inns, there were no restaurants. So what do you eat? You're walking all day. What do you eat? So he would just take some fruits and roots in the forest, but no hot meal. But sometimes if in the evening he is near a village, Gopal Bhatta Goswami would stay in the house of a Brahman, where he would get some hot rice and dal to nourish the body, to keep the body warm. So he stayed in the house of a Brahman. His name was Madhav Sharma in Haridwar. Gopal Bhatta Goswami with his 12 Shaligram Shilas. One night he stayed in the house of a Brahman called Madhav Sharma and his wife. They were actually in their middle age, in their 40s, but they had no child. And they also had a desire. The purport Srila Prabhupada says, such is the desire of a devotee. These desires are created by Krishna in the hearts of the pure devotees. So they had a desire to have a child, but they could not have a child. And now suddenly this Babaji comes to stay with them, Gopal Bhatta Goswami from Vrindavan with his 12 Shaligram Shilas that he has just picked up from Muktinath. So he stays one night, and this couple, Madhav Sharma and his wife, they serve Gopal Bhatta Goswami with great love and respect. In the morning, Gopal Bhatta Goswami is leaving the house, and they fall at his feet and seek his blessings. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami understands that they don't have a child, and it is their desire to have a child. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami blesses them. He says, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you will have children. Don't worry. And they will all be pure devotees. Blessing them like this, Gopal Bhatta Goswami prepares to leave. At that point, Madhav Sharma promises Gopal Bhatta Goswami, my dear Goswami, if by your blessings, indeed, we have a child, if I have a son, I will give that son to you as a brahmachari student. And he will accept you as his guru. This is my promise. Gopal Bhatta Goswami came back to Vrindavan with his 12 Shaligram Shilas. Rupa and Sanatan Goswami were so happy to have Gopal Bhatta Goswami back in Vrindavan. And Rupa and Sanatan Goswami taught Gopal Bhatta Goswami how to worship Shaligram Shila. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami was worshipping Shaligram Shila with great love. But he always had a desire that Shaligram Shila is Krishna, I understand, but Tribhanga Deha Sundaram. I want my Krishna, Sham Sundar, who stands in the threefold bending form when he calls the gopis for Ras Leela. Because Gopal Bhatta Goswami was staying in a place in Vrindavan called Nidhivan, which is a place of Ras Leela, where Radha and Krishna enjoy unlimited pastimes. So he wanted a form that he could see his Sham Sundar. So you know what Gopal Bhatta Goswami would do? This is so sweet. He would have Jhulan Yatra for his Shaligram Shilas. Now Jhulan is for Radha Krishna. If you go to Vrindavan in the month of August, just before Balram Purnima, there is Jhulan festival, right? For 4 or 5 days, there is Jhulan Yatra. So he saw that Rup Sanatan Goswami had Jhulan for their deities, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami would take a rope tied to a trunk of a tree in Vrindavan. He would make a swing and he would swing his Shaligram Shilas, thinking that they are Sham Sundar and Radharani. Then one day what happened? One rich merchant came and he gave a big donation to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, not in the form of money, but in the form of silk clothes, beautiful necklaces made of gold and precious jewels for the worship of Madan Mohan and Govinda Dev. And that merchant gave similarly gifts to Gopal Bhatta Goswami for his deities. And they were very beautiful jewelry and clothes. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami was thinking all this is going to go waste because Shaligrams don't wear jewels. Shaligrams don't wear dhoti. Shaligrams, may not wear turban. So he was disappointed. And he was really thinking that the fire of desire in my heart to have Krishna in the threefold bending form is just increasing every day. And these new things are happening, which are only increasing my desire to have a threefold bending form of Krishna. Just like Madan Mohan, Govinda. And by this time, by the mercy of the Goswamis, even Gopinath was discovered. And Madhu Pandit was worshipping Gopinathji. So he wanted a deity, threefold bending form of Krishna, like Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Krishna, Jayo Vrindavana, Shri Govinda Gopinatha, Madana Mohan. He wanted a form like Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath. And then what happened? To further increase his desire, which festival came? Shri Narsimha Chaturdashi. And there, Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was giving Bhagavatam class. And in the Bhagavatam class, reading from the 7th canto, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was explaining how Sthambe Sabhayam Namrigam Namanusham. Breaking the stamba, breaking the pillar. Satyam Vidhatum Nija Bhritya Bhashitam. To prove the words of Prahlad Maharaj true. Sthambe Sabhayam. In the Hiranyakashipu Sabha, Sthambe Sabhayam Namrigam Namanusham. The Supreme Lord appeared in a very wonderful form of Narhari. Breaking the pillar, the stone pillar. Oh. Gopal Bhatta Goswami's eagerness to have a threefold bending form was increasing. He said he was praying to Prahlad Maharaj. Gopal Bhatta Goswami was praying to Prahlad Maharaj, that Prahlad Maharaj, by your desire, again, we are talking about the desires of the devotees. By your desire, Lord Narasimhadev appeared from a stone pillar. Now, if you bless me, then through these stone deities of Krishna, Shaligram, Bhagwan, let Nandanandan Krishna appear in threefold bending form, please. Throughout on Narasimha Chaturdashi, Gopal Bhatta Goswami was praying. He did Jagaran that night, praying that I want a threefold bending form. This is eagerness, my dear friends. And as he was praying that night, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared to him in a vision. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the Supreme Lord Krishna appears to a devotee to the degree the devotee is eager to have darshan. And then Gopal Bhatta Goswami started crying. He said, that means I am not eager enough. Prahlad was eager. I am not eager. That means I don't have devotion like Prahlad Maharaj. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami started crying. He said, what is the use of living? I don't even have any devotion. Krishna is not reciprocating with me. He started crying. And finally, early in the morning before Brahma Muhurta, when he was about to go to Yamuna for his snan, he looked at his Shaligram Shilas. He looked at his altar. He looked at all the clothes that had been given as a gift. He looked at all the jewels that had been given. And he told the Shaligram Shilas, I am going to Yamuna for snan. By the time I come back, if my Tribhanga Deha Sundaram, Sham Sundar is not there, then I will go to Yamuna again, the second time. But this time, I will go with all 12 of you, all 12 Shaligram Shilas. I will tie you around my neck because I cannot give up your service, but I cannot live without Sham Sundar Krishna, who is in a threefold bending form. I will tie you, all 12 of you around my neck, and I will go and jump in the Yamuna, and I will end my life. You came from Gandaki, and Gandaki is not different from Yamuna because that is Gupta Vrindavan, Muktinath. So you will go back into Gandaki in the form of Yamuna. And with you, I will also go, but I will end my life. Making this firm determination, Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami went to Yamuna, took his early morning bath. And as he came back to Nidhivan, where he was staying under a tree, he was staying under a tree. And the altar was just made of some mud, raised platform. He saw that one of the 12 Shaligram Shilas, it was a Damodar Shila, one of the 12 Shaligram Shilas had expanded itself into a very beautiful threefold bending form of Krishna. And you could see the remnants of the Shaligram Shila behind still. And from that Shaligram Shila, threefold bending form of Krishna had manifested. Gopal Bhatta Goswami was overjoyed. He could not believe his eyes. He started jumping up and down, doing Nam Sankirtan. So happy. He was beside himself with joy. Where is Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan Goswami? He ran to the place where Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis were. And he called them. And the news spread. All the Goswamis of Vrindavan found out. Loknath Goswami, Bhugar Goswami. The news spread like wildfire that a deity of Krishna had manifested from Shaligram Shila. My dear friends, in the history of this world, this has never happened before. First time from a Shaligram Shila, threefold bending form of Krishna had appeared. They all came running to Nidhivan. And they all offered their obeisances, crying tears of love. How Krishna fulfills the desires of his devotees. Krishna had appeared. Rupa Goswami, who was the natural leader of all the devotees, he spoke. Krishna has appeared in Nidhivan today. Nidhivan is the place where Krishna performs Ras Leela with Srimati Radharani. When Srimati Radharani sometimes gets fatigued, gets tired from dancing, she sits down. At that point, Krishna, he tells the Manjaris that I want to serve Radharani. And he takes the water from them and offers it to Radharani. He takes a pan, beetle, and he offers Radharani. And then he sits down at Srimati Radharani's lotus feet and he starts massaging Radharani's lotus feet. And as Krishna is massaging Radharani's lotus feet are smeared red with the alta. We all know that. The red color, the Manjaris, they hold a thali with that red color. And after Radharani gets ready, she places her lotus feet there. And therefore Radharani's soles of her lotus feet are always covered red. So Krishna sees the red color on Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. And with the tip of his own finger, Krishna writes Shyam on Radharani's lotus feet and gives great pleasure to Radharani. So Rupa Goswami said that this is the place where Krishna gives pleasure to Radharani. He becomes Radha Raman. Raman means to give pleasure. And Radha is Srimati Radharani. Therefore, this is the place where Krishna not only enjoys, Raman also means to enjoy. He not only enjoys the Rasa Leela with Srimati Radharani, but he also gives pleasure to Radharani. Therefore, this beautiful threefold bending form of Shyam Sundar Krishna, who has the lotus feet of Madan Mohan, who has the beautiful majestic chest of Gopinath, and who has the beautiful smiling face of my Govinda Dev, let his name be Radha Raman. Shri Radha Raman Lal ki Jai. Rupa Goswami gave the name, Namkaran, of Gopal Bhatta Goswami's deity. And Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami started worshipping Radha Raman with so much love, so much love. And he personally established such high standards of worship. Soon, the fame and popularity of all these deities increased, and temples were built for them. Temple was built for Gopinath, temple was built for Govinda Dev, temple was built for Madan Mohan, and temple was built for Radharaman also. Eventually, it took time, but eventually it was built. And one day, Gopal Bhatta Goswami was thinking, after I am dead and gone, how will the worship of my Radharaman continue? He was thinking like that. And he had a desire that I should have some qualified followers so that I can create succession. He was thinking of succession. And again, he came out of the temple of Radharaman, and at the door, he saw Madhav Sharma and his wife. And with them were two boys, just like Divyanam Prabhu's kids. There were two kids sitting. And Madhav Sharma pointed towards his children and he said, the elder one is Gopinath and the younger one is Damodar. And Madhav Sharma had come all the way from Haridwar to Vrindavan. By now he had children. And he said, I offer both these sons to you, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Please accept them as your disciples. From today, they are yours. Gopal Bhatta Goswami's eyes filled with tears, seeing the reciprocation of Radharaman. And he said, I offer both your sons at the lotus feet of Radharaman. He accepted them. He initiated them. So Gopinath became Gopinath Pujari. He became the Pujari, the worshipper of Radharaman. And he remained a lifelong brahmachari, Naishtik brahmachari. But his younger brother Damodar Pujari, he got married. And all the pujaris that we have right till date, our Pundarik Goswami of Radharaman temple, all of them, they are descending from Gopinath and Damodar Sharma's family. It's a very well preserved family dynasty, lineage of very sincere sevaks of Radharaman and very loyal to the standards that Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami himself had established. In due course of time, my dear friends, something very wonderful happened. Srila Srinivas Acharya came to Vrindavan. Srila Srinivas Acharya is a manifestation of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's prem. The manifestation of Sri Nityananda Prabhu's prem is Sri Narottam Das Thakur. And the manifestation of Sri Advaita Prabhu's prem is Shyamananda Pandit. Srinivas Acharya came to Vrindavan and he became the initiated disciple of Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And we know Srila Srinivas Acharya was such a dynamic preacher. He was born by the mercy of Mahaprabhu. We know the story. His father, Chaitanya Das from Nadia, he had come to Jagannath Puri, received the blessings of Mahaprabhu, and then he and his wife had a child. That is Srinivas Acharya. Srinivas Acharya was the recipient of mercy of Vishnupriya Devi. He was the recipient of mercy of Jahnava Devi. He was favorite student of Narhari Sarkar. and he was very dear to Abhiram Thakur. He had received 3 touches of the Jai Mangal whip from Abhiram Thakur. Srinivas Acharya was very special. He had learned Srimad Bhagavatam for some time from Shri Gadadhara Pandit directly. Very blessed personality. He came to Vrindavan and he became the initiated disciple of Srila Srinivas Acharya. And Srila Srinivas Acharya Srila Gopal Goswami engaged Srinivas Acharya in the service of Radharaman. Now, my dear friends, we come to a very important part of our presentation. First, let me show all of you one letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote. So, Kuladri Prabhu is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he was the temple president of New Vrindavan. So this letter Srila Prabhupada wrote also the same year when Srila Prabhupada wrote the purport that we read today, 1977. But that was November. This is February 15th, 1977. Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter from Navadvip, from Mayapur Dham, to Shriman Kuladri Das Adhikari, who was in New Vrindavan, Moundsville, West Virginia. Srila Prabhupada writes, let's read Srila Prabhupada's letter. Dear Kuladri, please accept my blessings. I have received your letter of January 28th and studied the contents. As for mailing me sweets wherever I am, don't spend unnecessarily. So Kuladri Prabhu was shipping to Srila Prabhupada sweets made in New Vrindavan. Wherever Srila Prabhupada was, he would send sweets from New Vrindavan. Radha Vrindavan Chandras Mahaprasad. Srila Prabhupada is saying, as for mailing me sweets wherever I am, don't spend unnecessarily. Srila Prabhupada, see, he is so worried about Krishna's money. Don't spend unnecessarily. Why? Because here they are also preparing sweets nicely. Wherever Srila Prabhupada's devotees are giving sweets, now all my disciples are learning this art of making sweets. So what does Srila Prabhupada tell Kuladri Prabhu? Distribute your sweets to the newcomers so they will become attracted. So whatever newcomers are there in New Vrindavan, feed them those sweets. Don't ship them to me. Now, about Shaligrams. So, Srila Prabhupada was gifted 2 Shaligram Shilas when Srila Prabhupada was in Navadvip. One was Hiranyagarbha and one was Anantashesh. 2 Shaligram Shilas were given to Srila Prabhupada. These were the first Shaligram Shilas of ISKCON. And Srila Prabhupada said that let these Shaligram Shilas go to America, because there were no Shaligram Shilas in America. So the first Shaligram Shilas in the history of this continent were brought by Srila Prabhupada. And he gave both the Shaligram Shilas to the New Vrindavan community. And at that time, the Pujari who got service of these first Shaligram Shilas of ISKCON was my beloved spiritual master, Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And Prabhupada personally taught Maharaj how to worship these Shaligram Shilas. He told Maharaj to bathe them with Ganga Jal and offer Tulsi leaves. He said, this is a very simple form of Shaligram Seva. In the summer, you can offer Chandan also, Chandan paste. So just Ganga Jal and Tulsi leaves. And then Prabhupada repeated to Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj that first class Shaligram Seva means Tulsi leaves. There must be Ganga Jal and there must be Tulsi leaves. So anyway, so now Srila Prabhupada is talking about the Shaligram Shilas to Kuladri Prabhu, who is the temple president. As for the Shaligrams, send one of the Shaligrams to the LA temple, Los Angeles, and you keep one in New Vrindavan. Again, Srila Prabhupada is repeating. Simply decorate the Shaligram and put him on a Simhasan. Apply garland, Chandan and Tulsi. Shaligram Shila bathing means to bathe all the deities. All the deities are present in Shaligram Shila. And enclosed, find one note from Jananivas Prabhu and follow his instructions. Because Jananivas Prabhu is the authority on deity worship. As for bringing sweets and ghee to Mayapur festival, this is very nice. In this way, everyone can enjoy the effects of cow protection. Your ever well-wisher, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada is saying how to worship Shaligram Shila, and the fact that in worshipping Shaligram Shila, all the deities are served. So that is very nice, very good to know. So from this Shaligram Shila, one of the 12 Shaligram Shilas, Radharaman Jiv has appeared. And the establishment of the standards of deity worship has taken place. But now see what happens, my dear friends. This shows the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers. Shri Shri Radharaman Lal Ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhu. So now what is in the heart of Sri Radharaman? What is in the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And what is in the heart of the true followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? That we will see. Now Gopal Bhatta Goswami has found a very qualified disciple. Who is that? Srinivas Acharya. What does Gopal Bhatta Goswami do with Srinivas Acharya? Srinivas Acharya is fully trained in Shastra. He has learned Bhagavatam from Jiva Goswami, and before that from Gadadhara Pandit. And he has learned deity worship from Srinivas Acharya, from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He is fully trained in deity worship and in Shastra. Now the Guru Maharaj is Gopal Bhatta Goswami. What instruction does he give to Srinivas Acharya? Does he tell him, you stay in Vrindavan and worship Radharaman? No. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami tells Srila Srinivas Acharya, I want you to become a preacher. He tells Srinivas, I want you to be a preacher and I want you to become an Acharya. Acharya means a guru. Srila Prabhupada is our Acharya, founder Acharya. I want you to have disciples. I want you to give Diksha. Gopal Bhatta Goswami is telling Srinivas. And Jiva Goswami confers upon him the title Acharya. Srinivas becomes Srinivas Acharya. And he sends him out of Vrindavan and says, you travel all over Utkal and Gauda Desh, all over Orissa and Bengal, and you preach the message of Mahaprabhu. That is more pleasing to Radharaman. Staying in Vrindavan is glorious, and worshipping Radharaman is glorious. But on the authority of Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami, I am saying, to take the message of Mahaprabhu and to preach all over is more glorious. Hare Krishna. And in this regard, I would like to tell all of you a story. So see, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who knows the heart of Radharaman more than Gopal Bhatta Goswami? Is there anyone? No. Gopal Bhatta Goswami appeared to give pleasure to Radharaman appeared to give pleasure to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami knows the heart of Radharaman. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami is saying, you go and preach. He's telling his favorite disciple, you go and preach. Deity worship will be taken care of. You go and you preach. Why? Because Gopal Bhatta Goswami had learned this from his Shiksha Gurus, Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan Goswamis. Would you like to know what was Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan Goswami's Dincharya? All day, when the deities had just appeared, Govinda Dev and Madan Mohan, all day Rupa and Sanatan Goswami would worship their deities. And at night, they would not sleep. They would take dry leaves and they would burn them. And in the illumination, the light that it created, burning of dry leaves, they would take leaves and write their books. Because in the daytime, they had no time. They were serving the deities. But at night, when the deities were sleeping, they would give up their sleep. They would give up. Therefore, Nidra ahar viharaka divijitau chatyanta dinau chayau. Nidra, sleep, ahar, food. Nidra, ahar, vihar, recreation. They gave up. Nidra hara viharaka divijitau. Vijitau, they had conquered. Chatyanta dinau chayau. And they are so humble. Whole day serving the deity. At night, when everyone is sleeping, they give up their sleep. They take dry leaves. They burn the dry leaves at night. And in that light, they wrote books like Ujjwal Nilamani and Brihad Bhagavatamrit, my dear friends. Just think about that. There was no table lamp, no LED lamps, no study table, no ball pen. This is what our acharyas have given us. And why were they writing these books? To preach. Later on, these books were sent with Srinivas, Shamanand, Narottam, isn't it? On the bullock carts, so that preaching could happen. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur had that same spirit. Brihad Mridanga. And Srila Prabhupada is carrying that dhara. BBT. Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. This is our movement, my dear friends. Srila Prabhupada left everything. Srila Prabhupada was the greatest Paramhamsa living in Vrindavan. And he left Vrindavan to preach. And he comes back to Vrindavan with his Western disciples. These disciples by birth were Mlechas, born in meat-eating families. They had no Vedic culture. They had never even heard about Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada makes them shave up, wear dhoti kurta, gives them the Brahmin thread. Now 3 times a day they are chanting Gayatri Mantra. They are chanting at least 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. They are wearing Tulsi Mala. 12 places on their body is Gopi Chandan Tilak. And they are following the 4 regulative principles. And they are studying books like Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And not just reading, they are preaching also. What a glorious life. What a glorious transformation. Even Indians don't do that. And these Western disciples come to Vrindavan. And one Western disciple in the evening goes to attend the Aarti in Radharaman temple. This is in the 1970s, my dear friends. True story. A wide-bodied American devotee is standing in front of Radharaman attending the Aarti. And a pujari of Shri Shri Radharaman notices that, hey, this is a foreigner. This is a white-bodied person, but very nice. He is wearing kanthi, tilak. He has got a japamala around his neck. Means he's chanting Harinam. Very nice, very nice. After the Aarti, he gives some Mahaprasad to that Western Vaishnava. Because this pujari of Radharaman temple is very pleased that even though born in the Western world, he has given up everything, come to Vrindavan, and is standing and taking darshan of Radharaman. And as this Western devotee was taking darshan of Radharaman, he was overwhelmed. I am standing here in front of Radharaman, the Pranadhan of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Srila Prabhupada has told us that the standards of deity worship in Radharaman temple are the best, and we must learn from them. Srila Prabhupada has said, has instructed all of us for all time to come. We must learn from the pujaris of Radharaman temple, the standards of deity worship. That is the ideal standard. And Srila Prabhupada also said that Krishna looks like Radharaman. Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan, Krishna actually looks like Radharaman. So this devotee, Western devotee, is remembering all these things, taking darshan of Radharaman and is feeling overwhelmed. And after the Aarti, the pujari comes to him and gives him Mahaprasad and actually blesses him. He says, my dear child, I bless you that in your next life, you are born in a Brahman family so that you also get to worship Krishna in Vrindavan. I bless you. Receiving this blessing from such an exalted pujari of the heartbeat of Vrindavan, Shri Shri Radharaman, this Western devotee was overjoyed. He came all excited to Shri Shri Krishna Balram Mandir in Raman Reti. And Prabhupada, seeing him excited, asks him, you look very excited. He said, yes, Prabhupada, today I got blessed by a Brajvasi. I got blessed by the pujari of Shri Shri Radharaman Ji. He blessed me that in my next life, I will be born as a Brahman. So I will also have the adhikar of worshipping Krishna in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada, in the mood of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, understanding the mood of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, understanding the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and understanding the heart of Shri Shri Radharaman, told this Western devotee, immediately go back to Radharaman temple, find that pujari, and tell him what I am saying. Tell him that after taking birth in Vrindavan and worshipping the deity of Krishna very nicely, if Mahaprabhu is pleased, then one gets a chance to take birth in the Western world and join the preaching movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Go and tell him that. Hare Krishna. This is inconceivable. This is very difficult. It can be misunderstood. But please don't misunderstand Srila Prabhupada. This is the mood of Radharaman. This is the mood of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He sent Srinivas Acharya, don't stay in Vrindavan, go and preach. All the books that the Goswamis have written, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, take those books and preach. And that is exactly the mission of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And we have inherited that mission, my dear friends. Let us understand our good fortune. Let us understand our good fortune. And let us take it very seriously. Shripad Ayendra Prabhu, the worshipper of Shaligram Shilas. He had more than 2000 Shaligram Shilas in his room in Vrindavan. And this same Krishna Balram Mandir that we were reading about in the purport. Remember, Srila Prabhupada said, there is a place in Vrindavan where once there was no temple. But a devotee desired, let there be a temple, let there be seva, devotional service. And by Krishna's mercy, today that lonely corner of Vrindavan is a place of pilgrimage. We read the purport. Such is the desire of a devotee. That place of pilgrimage, my dear friends, is famous as Angres Mandir. There are many reasons why it is the Angres Mandir, because in the early days, most of the devotees there were Westerners. One reason why it is called Angres Mandir is because one Angres would always sit there and do 24 hours Harinam Sankirtan. And that was Shripad Ayendra Prabhu in the 1980s. Shripad Ayendra Prabhu stayed there, chanted 2 lakh names every day. We say 1 lakh is 64, but actually 58 rounds also is 1 lakh. He would do 116 rounds every day, Shripad Ayendra Prabhu. At least later on, when the 24-hour Kirtan Mandali was well set up and he had more time, he would do 116 rounds every day, Nam Sankirtan every day, and worship of Shaligram every day. And he was also one of the main pujaris of Shri Shri Radha Sham Sundar. Especially on the weekend, Saturday and Sundays, he would dress Shri Shri Radha Sham Sundar. He would give Bhagavatam classes. Shripad Ayendra Prabhu had thoroughly studied all the books of Srila Prabhupada and the books of our Acharyas. Shripad Ayendra Prabhu did Akhanda Vrajvas, never left Vrindavan. He was born in America. He comes to Vrindavan, goes to Yamuna, tears up his American passport and throws it into Yamuna. Because no passport means I cannot go back. I cannot get on a flight. No, I have to live in Vrindavan. I don't want to leave. Mamastu Vrindavana eva vasa. That was his mood. And still, in 2009, after staying in Vrindavan for almost 25 years, Shripad Ayendra Prabhu was very desperate. Why was he desperate? Because he was not getting his Swarup Siddhi. How far we are, right, from our goal. He's desperate for his Swarup Siddhi. I want to know who I am in Golok Vrindavan. What is my seva? What is my name? All the 11 characteristics he wanted. And he would sit in front of his Nitai Sachisut, his Gaur Nitai deities in his room. He would hold their lotus feet and cry. His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj was telling this story, my dear friends. At least part of it. He became so desperate in 2009 that I'm not getting my Swarup Siddhi. I'm not getting my Swarup Siddhi. He would sit and cry in front of his Nitai Sachisut and say, what have I done wrong? What more should I do? I gave up my family. I gave up my country of birth. I came here to Vrindavan. I'm serving the mission of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. He wanted 24 hours Kirtan in Krishna Balram Mandir. I have established that. I am doing deity worship. I am doing Dhamvas. I am worshipping Tulsi Devi. I am studying Srimad Bhagavatam. I am chanting 2 lakh every day. What more should I do? What more do I have to do? Why you are not revealing yourself to me? he finally decided, just like Gopal Bhatta Goswami was getting desperate, I want threefold bending form of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada was getting desperate. He said, he told Mahaprabhu, he told Nitai Shachisut, from today, I will fast unto death. This was the year 2009, my dear friends. Srila Prabhupada said, I will fast unto death. He locked his door from inside, would not open it. For 3 days, he did not eat. Devotees were very worried. They would come and knock on his door and say, Ayendra Prabhu, open the door. We have got Mahaprasad for you. Please break your fast. Please eat something. This is not good. Srila Ayendra Prabhu would open the door, point a finger in their face and tell them very sternly, don't come between me and Mahaprabhu. And he would slam the door shut. This was his determination. I will fast unto that. Either Mahaprabhu has to reveal my swarup to me, or what is the use of living? I will die. He was fasting unto that, my dear friends. And it is said on the 4th night, as Sripad Ayendra Prabhu was in front of Nitai Shachisut, his beloved spiritual master, Om Vishnupad, Paramhams Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtottar Shata Shri Srimad Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada appeared to Sripad Ayendra Prabhu and gave him his swarup. Told him his name, told him his form, told him his service, told him everything. And disappeared. Ayendra Prabhu was overjoyed. He was overjoyed. He knew there was one devotee who lived near Radhakund, who was a mystic. The next day, Sripad Ayendra Prabhu, who had fasted for 3 full days, he went there. He went there to that devotee who had some mystic siddhi. He was also an astrologer. And Sripad Ayendra Prabhu went in front of him and told him, tell me something about my swarup. That devotee looked at Ayendra Prabhu and spontaneously composed a Sanskrit verse. And in the last line of that Sanskrit verse was the name of Sripad Ayendra Prabhu in his swarup, in his Vraj swarup. The same name that Srila Prabhupada told him in the vision, that same name was there in the 4th line of that verse. When Sripad Ayendra Prabhu heard that, he started dancing with joy. Everything was confirmed because he wanted to make sure I was fasting for 3 days. Was I hallucinating? Did Srila Prabhupada really come, or was I hallucinating? But this was a confirmation that a Brajvasi has confirmed. He came back and he sat where the 24 hours kirtan was all evening, all night. Continuously, Sripad Ayendra Prabhu alone did kirtan in his ecstasy. He had gotten what he wanted. This, my dear friends, is the desperation. This is the desperation that Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami had to obtain Radharaman. And this is the desperation that we have to pray for, we have to aspire for, if we want to become useful instruments in the hands of our Parampara. What we have received is very precious. We must understand its value and we must give ourselves completely to it. We should not think that I have come to America. Life is very comfortable here. I will earn money. I will plan a nice, comfortable retirement. I will enjoy also. I will eat in restaurants. I will go on expensive vacations. I will have a nice house. And yes, I will chant my 16 rounds also. After all, Prabhupada said, chant 16 rounds, 404 regulative principles, and go back home, back to Godhead. If it was so easy, my dear friends, devotees like Sripad Ayendra Prabhu and devotees like Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami would not be so desperate. Bilwal Mangal Thakur was so desperate. Prahlad Maharaj was so desperate. Dhruv Maharaj was so desperate. Dhruv Maharaj even gave up breathing. Forget eating and sleeping. He gave up even breathing. So we have to pay the price, my dear friends. And the price that we are paying is for something that is very sweet. That is very sweet. It is so sweet that we can be lying on our deathbed, practically emaciated, not eaten anything for almost 6 months. And we can be dictating a Bhaktivedanta purport that says, such is the desires of the devotee. Krishna fulfills those desires himself. He takes upon himself. This, my dear friends, is ecstasy. To dictate that purport in November 1977, when your body has been reduced to skin and bones, that is ecstasy. To glorify Krishna is ecstasy. To see Krishna's mission expanding, Mahaprabhu's mission expanding, and we are being used as instruments, as history is being created, we are being used as instruments. That is ecstasy, my dear friends. And to get that ecstasy, all we have to do is be sincere. We have to be sincere. That's all. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami ki jai. Shri Shri Radharaman Jiyo ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We didn't get time to discuss about Jayadev Goswami, but we will leave it for some other time. Thank you very much.
His Grace Adi Gadadhara Prabhu ki jai, for filling our hearts with joy to hear this nectarian katha. Prabhu, we can't thank you enough. Truly, from all our hearts, on behalf of all the devotees, we are truly, very, very grateful to you. Wow. I wish we can keep going. And I'm sure that all the devotees here on this conference feeling the same way. So it's 11:13 here. So we can see, is it okay, Prabhuji, if we can take a few questions or comments, queries?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So for about 15 minutes, let's see if anyone has any question or comments. Okay, so please raise your hands. So looks like Gail Mataji wants to ask something.
Yes, while Gail Mataji is being unmuted, Gail Mataji, I have everything that I promised. I have everything ready. I just have to send it to Prabhuji, Divyanam Prabhu, and Ajay Govind Prabhu. I will send it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, please put it on your Adi Gadadhar Prabhuji's group also, Prabhu.
Yes.
We'll put Mataji.
Yeah, I don't know that Prabhu has my info, but I guess we can figure that out. Yeah, I can put my number maybe in the chat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Or we'll send it to Kirtida Mataji. I mean,
Yeah. Thank you
it.
so much. I appreciate that. Yes, Prabhu, this class was a complete treasure. It was a complete treasure. I mean, it was so wonderful to hear so many details about Gopal Bhatta Goswami. I do have two questions. One is, when you were making this point earlier that it is Krishna who creates the desires of, creates and maintains the desires of the pure devotees. I was having trouble reconciling that point with the fact that we have individuality. We are not robots, you know. Yes, we don't have independent desire, but we do have desire that is for Krishna's pleasure. So how do I reconcile this? The fact that we are individuals who have Krishna conscious desires, yet it is Krishna who creates our desires. It seems to be a contradiction to our individuality.
Very nice, very subtle point. But actually, no. A pure devotee completely hands over himself or herself in the loving hands of Shyam Sundar, Radha Shyam Sundar. Like Srila Prabhupada says, Kashtera putali yatha nachao se mate, nachao Prabhu, nachao se mate. Prabhupada is saying that I am like a wooden puppet. Kashtha means wood and putali means puppet. Kashtera putali yatha nachao se mate, nachao Prabhu, nachao se mate. I want to dance, but I want to dance the way you want me to dance. So a devotee like Srila Prabhupada voluntarily surrenders or offers himself in the service of Krishna. That Krishna, you make me dance the way you want me to dance. So that is Prabhupada's desire. You see, Prabhupada is saying that I want to be your puppet. I want to dance the way you want me to dance. And then Krishna makes them dance. So Prabhupada's individuality is not disturbed because it is Prabhupada who wants to be like that. He wants to be a puppet in the hands of Krishna. So you see, that
Yes.
individuality is still preserved. Hare Krishna.
Yes, that's very nice. Thank you. The other question is, well, actually, your explanation just, it's amazing how Krishna works, because just yesterday I was having this question for the word dance, right? Because I've seen it written as NACE and I've seen it written as NACA, but your pronunciation seems to imply that it's NACA. So is that the correct nacha? Not J, right?
Nachao means to dance.
Oh, so NACAU or just NACA?
So without diacritics, NACHA.
Okay.
Na chao. CH.
So, NACHA. No.
O.
Say.
A-O. Na chao.
Okay.
Na chao, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah,
Correct.
this is a direct answer to a question I had. And then the other question I had was concerning Shaligram Shila. I was so surprised when you said that it's not Vishnu, because as you were saying, the popular wisdom is that it's Vishnu. So how is it that we came to this misunderstanding that Shaligram Shila is Vishnu? I mean, to say that's like going to send shockwaves through ISKCON, I feel like, because that understanding is so pervasive.
Yeah. So Shaligram Shila is Vishnu also, because Vishnu comes from Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Just like all the Vishnu Murtis, Ramadi, all the Murtis in Brahma Samhita, it is mentioned, they all come from Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishthan, Nana Avatar. So all these Nana avatars, all these different types of avatars, they come from Avatari Krishna. Krishna is the Avatari.
Mm-hmm.
So similarly, Shaligram Shila is Rajendranandan Krishna, his Vrindavan Krishna. Shaligram Shila is threefold bending Sham Sundar, who holds the flute. And from him, all the Vishnu Murtis can come, as they do. So therefore, people who don't have knowledge of the actual origin, they see a Vishnu Murti of Shaligram, that, oh, this is Anantashesh. Oh, this is Varaha Shaligram. This is Narsimha Shaligram. But they are all coming from Sham Sundar Krishna. And what is the proof for this? The proof is Radharaman. Proof is Radharaman. Radharaman Shaligram Shila and his threefold bending. So that is the proof that Shaligram Shila is Brajendranandan Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
But this will become more clear when we discuss the whole story of how Shaligram Shila appeared. The story of Shaligram Shila. But again, we don't have time to discuss that today.
How about next Saturday then, Prabhu?
Not next Saturday, but the Saturday after that, because next Saturday I'm working.
Okay.
Saturday after that, if you have availability, we can do. Because Shaligram Shila's appearance has directly to do with the Krishna Lila in Golok Vrindavan.
Oh.
Krishna and Radharani were transcendentally cursed, and they came as Shaligram Shila and Gandaki River. So that story we can discuss next week.
Okay, Jai.
Okay, it's on in 2 weeks. It's on.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so Kulshekar, you have a question? Yeah, Kulshekar wants to.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the class. I have 2 questions. So the first question is, do you know what is the Siddha Swarup of Ayana Prabhu?
Yes. So, Sripada Ayana Prabhu is a Manjari in Golok Vrindavan, and he actually had one devotee draw a painting of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, surrounded by different Sakhis and Manjaris. And in that, there is one Manjari who is playing the Mridang. And Srila Prabhupada Prabhu Very privately, he didn't say this publicly, but very privately he pointed and he said, "That is me. That is me." So, and he actually reveals his name in his book also. He wrote a book, The Heart of Transcendental Book Distribution. In that, Sripada Indra Prabhu reveals his name also.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. And my second question is, are there 11 other Shaligrams? Can we see them?
They are still there in Radharaman temple.
Mhm.
They are still worshipped in Radharaman temple. So yes, I have not seen them, but I am not sure if they are available for darshan for devotees, but they are still worshipped in Radharaman temple.
There are some Shaligram Shilas at Gopal Goswami Samadhi also, Prabhuji. Are those different Shilas or?
I'm not sure, Prabhu. I'm not sure. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami Samadhi is right there, right in the temple, in the premises, Radharaman temple behind. I don't know, Prabhuji, what those Shaligram Shilas are.
The wooden asan which Mahaprabhu gave to.
That is still there.
Yeah, that is still there. So
Yeah.
that was-
Even Mahaprabhu's Kopin is also there.
Oh yeah.
Kopin and the asan both are there, even today.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Kulashekar. You remember we had Kulashekar Katha last time?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so let's see if anyone else has any question. Oh, I think in chat. So we are getting gratitude from all the devotees. Wonderful class, wonderful session, ecstatic class. You have poured your deep love and devotion, Prabhuji, and with this shower, we also completely drenched with love for Krishna, inspired by your determination. Many thanks to your glorious service. We are indebted to you. So perfect. All the devotees are very, very grateful to you, Prabhu. So if not, then we can end here, respecting everyone's time with an aspiration to have your katha back on our Richmond Sangha, and everyone from all over the world, they are invited here. Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Divinam Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
And at this point, if devotees wants to say their thank, please do so. Open up your video and say your heartfelt gratitude and thank to Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Done with pranams to you. Hare Krishna,
Thank you.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much, Prabhu.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the nice class.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavad
Jai Srila
Pranam.
Prabhupada. All glories to all of you.
Amazing class, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Very nice katha, Krishna katha.
Thank you.
Radhe ki jai.